Clone troopers were developed to dive straight into battle without question, and a good way to determine which was the deadliest is through who did or didn't make it to retirement. And yet today, I'll place these brothers in a ranking based off of who could wield a blaster and even just keep their head down, ranging from the Special Ops Corps to some of the fan favorites like Wolf and Cody. But while some would want me to skip over the unnamed clones, I'll be including some of them too for comedy's sake. Our first pick for a power level of 1 is an unnamed clone trooper from the Battle of Christophsis that loses his blaster and then attempts to punch a B1 before gripping his injured hand and then being shot down. Overall, at least this guy is brave, but also proves that sometimes your fists can't solve everything.
Incorrect.
Also, we have this guy from the Citadel arc that was seen climbing up the building while rescuing Evan Peel, and until he is chopped in half by one of the many security doors on all sides that are closing. So at the end of the day, maybe this guy should have just believed instead of giving up and being lazy. Next up at 2, and here's the scale again for reference, we have Trauma, who was an ARF trooper / clone commander that also served under the Jedi called Halsey, as well as the other Jedi Nox at the Temple of Edith on Deveron, and had a stylized green and red armor. When the Dark Warrior Sauvage Opress came barreling in, Trauma would run up to him before, with no delay, the Zabrak flings the unlucky soul into oblivion. So overall, I don't feel like he put too much thought into this strategy here, and also, I'm not too sure about that name either. Okay, at 3, and yes, I'm aware that we're moving through these first levels pretty quickly, but as it turns out, most of the notable clones are actually pretty competent, but our only person for 3 is Commander Fox, who was a part of the Coruscant Guard, stationed of course at the capital of the Republic, who was extremely loyal to Palpatine and also a highly decorated soldier. Some reasons I have him here are because he was fooled by some modified demolition droids in 21 BBY who would cause a power shortage and blackout in Coruscant, even though that was like his only job to guard that. And also, he was always the first guy to want Ahsoka dead after the Jedi Temple bombing, and was also the one to kill Fives, which is an L, to be honest. So while coming up with the clones to use for this video, I was trying to remember why everyone hated on Fox so much, but then I remembered Fives, who of course everyone is gonna simp over big time. And just a quick segue here, as I'll mention later in the video, we actually do have a join button now if you want to become a member of the channel. I would greatly appreciate that, but obviously it is optional. Moving up to a PL of 4, we have Commander Neo. Now this is of course an example of someone I'd rather put much higher, but since we're technically basing this off of power, and also we haven't seen too much of Neo, I guess I don't feel too bad, all things considered. However, Commander Neo was an ARC trooper and leader of the 91st Mobile Reconnaissance Corps with his red and white armor, being littered with emblems of this corps. The reason I have him this low, despite how cool he seems at face value, is that while most of the other clone commanders walked up to their Jedi to kill them, Neo just kind of sat back in his speeder and, being a little sneaky boy, moved his bark speeder behind Stas Alley's, killing her. So note to clones, if you want to be higher on this list, stop being lazy.
No.
At level 5 is Commander Colt, who was also an ARC commander who fought at the Battle of Camino and also helped train future ARCs there, and while he did hold his own against Grievous for a brief time, this was soon forgotten as Ventress immediately destroyed him in battle, force choking him, then stabbing him, and lastly giving the clone a kiss. This was so brutal that at one point Cartoon Network actually removed this part from the episode before it was later put back in. Also, we have Captain Vaughn, part of the 332nd, who like Colt did something notable when driving some Mandalorians off of a bridge, but this was overshadowed by his death in the tunnels of the city, where he allowed himself to be split off from his commander and other troopers. Although props to Vaughn and the 332nd for using my channel colors for their Legion. Blue and orange, baby. For the PL of 6, we're now really getting to the good characters with, first off, Gree, who is very cool with his green and later camo green armor and all, and is clearly experienced enough to serve under Luminara as well as Yoda, but I'd have to take some points off for how he lost in a fist fight to a Senate trooper. But also, he couldn't even beat a Jedi who had their back turned to them. And what's that, you say? The aforementioned Jedi just so happens to be Yoda? I mean, like that changes anything, right? Also at 6 is Cut La Quain, who remember is the deserter clone that had his own family, and while we really don't see him in much combat other than against some commando droids, I'm giving him a higher rating because he retired early, so that means he's extra good, right? Lastly, for a PL or power level of 6, I've got Mayday from the Bad Batch Season 2, who probably was a little more docile in his youth, but here is actually pretty slow and dies from the cold and an avalanche, where Crosshair manages to survive both of them while being more or less fine, other than nearly freezing to death. So not saying he's bad or anything, but we really don't see much of his fighting capabilities, and he doesn't particularly have a warrior's death, if you know what I mean. At 7 though, we have some more brothers to inspect, like Commander Bly, one of the leaders of the 327th along Jedi Ayla Secura, who had yellow armor with a comma, pauldron, and macro binoculars, which he was known for. And also he had a strong sense of duty and was wary of Quinlan Vos when having to work with him. He seems to be pretty effective throughout his battles in comics and also in the Clone Wars, but to me he just doesn't have enough notable achievements to put him higher. Although I will say he did perform Order 66 with ease. And next up is Commander Pons, who serves under Mace Windu at battles like Ryloth and Malastair, even going against the Zillo Beast. All around, he seems very competent and provides as an excellent combat partner to Mace during their overtaking of the Ryloth droid forces, even being trapped on a narrow side of a mountain. Also at 7 is Jet, who was at the second battle of Geonosis and helped with the flaming of multiple Geonosians, which is a very based war crime if I do say so myself. And also he managed to quickly recover from when his gunship, among many other, crashed into the sand, immediately thinking about the battle at hand. Closing in on the best, at level 8 is Commander Bakara, leader of the Galactic Marines, who had aggressive tactics in battle and was known to lead in front of his troops into battle, ignoring the Republic protocol and standard practices, making him obviously very brave. Also, the real reason I've got him here is because he managed to take down not only a Jedi, but one of the top Jedi during Order 66, with his squad sustaining only minor injuries. So basically he's an elite clone with some elite achievements. The other one for 8 is Heavy, who I couldn't put on the same level as Fives and Echo due to him dying so early on, but even with that said, it's hard to deny the fact that Heavy has drive and a fighting spirit and attitude that makes him extremely impressive in battle for a shiny. Also, he is the first of many I'll be talking about soon that goes out with a hero's death, surviving for a long time against many droids. At a power level of 9, however, I have many candidates, and to start with the most notable, Captain Rex served alongside Anakin Skywalker, one of the most feared Jedi generals of the Clone Wars, from basically start to finish. He was not only an effective leader, but he also got to know each and every one of his men, and was even more loyal to the Jedi he fought with, like Ahsoka, who helped him overcome his inhibitor chip. Also, Rex was unique from his blonde hair and Phase 2 armor, which welded together pieces from his Phase 1 helmet, notably the visor, and also someone just as iconic is Commander Cody, who was the Rex to Obi-Wan and led the 212th, another extremely important legion, across battles like Ryloth, Umbara, and Utapau. He came equipped with an iconic visor, and overall he is just as competent as Rex across his appearances in the Clone Wars and continues to be just great at what he does. Also, of course, Fives and Echo are both going up here at 9, with them proving themselves as deadly ARC troopers later on that were just as experienced as Rex. Now, admittedly, some might put Fives higher as he lasted longer and was less impulsive, but I'm a sucker for Echo, so I think I'll keep him right here. Next up is Gregor, who actually got amnesia after the Battle of Sarish until he was found by D Squadron, who allowed him to sacrifice himself against tons of battle droids, where he proved what it means to be a Republic commando. But forget not that he also survived this and went on to help with the rebels into his old age. Lastly, for this PL, that being 9, is Captain Keeley, who in my opinion has one of the best hero's deaths among the bunch, as he made his last stand with Imagundi at Ryloth, proving himself as an admirable warrior that believed in his cause. But with him out of the way, that means it's time for the best of the best, the 10 out of 10s. And first off, I'd have to throw Boss and Sev from Delta Squadron in here, because even though Gregor is great, he ain't one of the Delta boys, that's for sure. Also, Captain Fordo I'd have to put here, as in the 2003 Clone Wars series, he successfully takes out a city worth of battle droids at the Battle of Munilist, before later at Coruscant 1v1ing multiple B2 battle droids, even punching one with his rifle. Also, I'd have to put Wolf, who may or may not be my favorite clone, but that's besides the point, as he proves himself again and again to be worthy of Plo Koon's forces, like at Kadavo where he liberated Togruto slaves. Also, Commander Thorn is pretty overpowered as well, and is the last of the last stands to mention for today, who fights against waves upon waves of battle droids at Scipio with his Z6 rotary blaster cannon, and also takes 5 shots to the chest before actually dying. But the best clone of them all is Denal, who, wait, why is he on here again? Oh yeah, that's right, because the Blue Bounty Hunter, me, killed him and took his armor, making me technically the top of the list. And that's because you already know I'm a 10 out of 10. And God is better than me anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. And by the way, we actually have a join button now if you want to become a member. There are different levels, so if you don't want to pay like $24 at first, that's fine. You can just start out with $2, but just know that that option is there now. I upload every Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I also post shorts on Saturday. But yeah, see ya.